Hey everybody! This month for my Papercraft club, I made two Seadragon Papercraft patterns, and this video is going to walk you through how to make them. My Wi-Fi is out, so I am a two-dimensional shark today. So I'm just going to get started with the Weedy Seadragon pattern. If you want to start with the Leafy Seadragon, there's a timestamp below where you can skip to, but both of these patterns are going to start in basically the same way. We're going to start with the mouth and the snout of the Seadragon and work toward the tail. So you can see I'm just starting with all of these little triangular flaps right at the very tip of the mouth. You can see his little mouth opening is that little black circle there. He looks very surprised. And then once you have that formed, I recommend gluing flaps 8 and 13 here, which form the rectangular longer sections of the snout, and just pressing those flaps right into place. And once you have all three segments of this piece formed, you can just apply glue to all of these smaller triangular flaps, and again, just gently press them into place. Y'all have to let me know what you think about the ping tuber. Is it PNG tuber or ping tuber? I don't actually know, but this two-dimensional moment. Let me know what you think. Sound off in the comments below. Tuber voice, sorry. Okay, but you can see here I'm just finishing off this snout piece, and I'm using my pinky to actually apply pressure from the opposite direction as my fingers on the outside to help secure those flaps into place. Now we can move on to piece 2. You can see here on the prototype, this will be kind of the front of the head, but not the snout, and the eyes. Start with flap 17 and just close this loop right here. And now all we have to do is apply glue to the remaining 4 flaps found on piece 2 and attach them to the corresponding edges found elsewhere on this piece. And now, once you've done that, you will have a wonderful little Seadragon head, a Weedy Seadragon head. Who doesn't love that? Oh, okay, so he might be a little slanted. I had to squish him into place a little bit to make everything be normal. Okay, and you can see there, that is how piece 1 and piece 2 are going to fit together. To put these together, I like to just apply glue to all 4 flaps on piece 1 and just gently slide them into place inside of piece 2, and then use your fingers to just gently secure all of those pieces. Next, we can move on to piece 3. This will be, I guess this is like the back of the head / the base of the neck. I had to separate these pieces a little bit because my fingers were too short to reach like through a longer neck segment and connect everything. Attaching piece 3 is really simple. You can see before I just applied glue to the flap that attaches onto this piece itself to close the loop, and then apply glue to all 4 of these flaps and just again slide them right into place. Now we can move on to piece 4. This is more of the neck and the actual chest. We have these lovely little blue stripes here on the neck and chest of the Weedy Seadragon. This is how it'll kind of fit together. And to get started with this one, apply glue to these 5 flaps as pictured. Okay, you can see now I am starting to attach these 2 pieces by first attaching the flap that corresponds with the very top of the head, and then just kind of working my way around, and now closing the loop again with this long flap on the side. I don't know why I'm gluing secretly in secrecy there. To finish this piece, just apply glue to all of the remaining flaps and simply attach. And just take a little bit of extra time to just make sure those flaps are really securely in place, and admire your wonderful Seadragon, of course. Now we can move on to piece 5. This is kind of the midsection of the Seadragon, and you can see there won't be any bottom faces. It'll be an opening at the bottom of the Seadragon around his belly, and this is really so you can hang up the Seadragon if you like. That's what I did, and I'll show you how to do that at the very end. Super simple to attach this piece. I don't think it needs much explaining. And admire, of course, important step. And now moving on to piece 6. This is actually the very tip of the tail here. And to attach this, I recommend gluing flaps 50 and 53. That's the little teeny triangular one on the very tip, and then the longer one on the tip of the tail, and then apply glue to the rest of the flaps that are going to attach to corresponding edges on this same piece. And from there, just go ahead and close this loop, just like always. Next, we'll move on to piece 7. This is another segment of the tail that will attach the tail to the body of the sea dragon. It's super simple. You're just going to close the loop and then attach piece 7 onto piece 6. Very easy. I feel like I'm really doing a technological innovation whenever I move this PNG tuber around. It feels really crazy. Okay, this is how these pieces will fit together. Just apply glue to these 3 flaps and gently press them into place. Super simple. And of course, take a moment to admire your sea dragon. And now we can start adding the fins or leaf-like appendages to our sea dragon. For piece 8, you're just going to fold it in half and then create these little valley folds along the dotted line at the bottom of these little green flaps, and then apply some glue to the white faces on the inside of these pieces, and then fold them right in half again. This is just going to keep it from falling apart when we attach it. Going to apply glue to the white sides of these green flaps and then just press the piece in place right at the top of the head. And piece 9, of course, is just a smaller version of piece 8. You'll follow all the same steps and then apply it a little bit farther down the neck. And now piece 10 and piece 11. These are more little fin pieces. Again, you'll just fold them in half, glue them together, fold them in half once again. And for the green flaps on these pieces, you don't need to do any kind of folds. As you can see, we're just going to apply glue right onto the green side and attach them on the inside of the sea dragon's body, right at the kind of midpoint of the chest where this open area begins at the base of the neck. Now for pieces 12 and 13, these are more little fins, and the only difference here is that for those little green flaps, you're going to create a valley fold, and you can see they're going to attach pointing toward the inside of the back there. Exact same process for the flap on the other side. I'm going to apply glue to the white side, the bottom side of that flap, and then press it into place right on top of the sea dragon's back. Pieces 14 and 15, more fin pieces. The rest of these are super simple. You don't need to create any folds on those little green flaps at the bottom of these fin pieces. You'll just press them into place right along the side of the sea dragon's body. I like that the music also stopped when I had nothing to say. Piece 18 here will be a little bit different. It'll be just like the first 2 fin pieces we did, where you fold it in half and then create valley folds on the green flaps and press them into place kind of on the center of the body at the tip of the tail there. And now we can add a dorsal fin to our wonderful sea dragon so he can actually propel himself around when he is swimming around in the ocean. This is just like a lot of the other pieces. You're just going to fold it in half, glue the inside, fold it in half again, and then make sure that you trim off any excess or anything that doesn't quite line up, just for a nice clean finished look. And then apply glue to the underside of your faces and press it into place kind of toward the very beginning of the tail. Pieces 20 and 21 are more fins that you're just going to fold in half again and apply much in the same way. I like to create looks like I'm creating a mountain fold. I was about to say valley fold. Oh, and then I folded it the other way. It is a valley fold. Yay! These are more fins. You're just going to glue them to themselves, just like all the other pieces, and then apply a little tiny bit of glue on that little tiny flap, and then press them into place just behind the eye, right on the cheeks. Oh, I was gonna say earlier, I can't figure out what these fins are called. The other fin is called a dorsal fin, and then in like all the diagrams, this fin isn't labeled, so I don't know. But here's the finished guy! So handsome! And to hang these guys, you need to make sure that you find where they balance, their center of gravity. You can see I'm trying different spots here, and he falls forward or backward. Right here is exactly the right place for my model and my paperweight. So I used just a sewing needle to poke a little hole right there, and then I passed some fishing line right through the hole and tied a double knot, and then you just let that double knot hold your fishing line in place on the inside of the sea dragon, like so. And now we can get started with the Leafy sea dragon pattern. We'll start this one the exact same way as the Weedy sea dragon, starting with piece 1, which is just the mouth and the snout of our wonderful little sea dragon. And we're going to start this one the exact same way as in the previous pattern. This one I made incomprehensibly huge for some reason. I don't know why this pattern ended up so big, but it did. He's wonderful. But we'll start it in the exact same way. So starting with this bottom segment that forms the mouth, and then attaching these longer rectangular flaps to create the two segments of the actual snout, the snoot. And then once these three segments are formed, again, we just apply glue to all of these smaller triangular pieces and go ahead and just gently slide them into place. It helps that I have tiny fingers to help securely attach all of these flaps, but if you're a normal sized person and or shark, it might be helpful to use something like a toothpick or a dowel, maybe a pencil, which, okay, I did that here too, so apparently my fingers aren't too tiny. Yeah, so you can use something, a small implement like a toothpick to help attach those flaps securely. And now I've moved on to piece 2. I started first by closing the loop and then applying the rest of the flaps that attach to corresponding edges on piece 2. This creates kind of a little, I don't know the technical term, bump? They have a bump on their head. Leafy sea dragons have a little bump on their head, and it's super cute. It's only found in leafy sea dragon species of the 3 sea dragons that exist. It's wonderful. And now you can attach piece 1 to piece 2 just like before. It takes a little bit of extra care though to attach the flap that is found on the very top of the snout to the top of the head just because of the unusual angle. And now piece 3 here, this is going to be the sea dragon's eyes. He's staring at me. Oh, staring at me with, I don't know what the expression is, but he looks very surprised to be coming into existence right now. And I like to attach this one, instead of closing the loop and attaching it as a already completed piece, I like to just start with a flap on the very top of the head and then work my way around from there. And from here, we'll move on to piece 4. This long piece here is going to fold up, I don't know, I want to say accordion style, but that is not what an accordion does. This is going to be the neck of our leafy sea dragon, and I recommend just applying glue to the 4 flaps that attach right onto the previous piece, piece 3, and starting from the right eye and working your way around to attach this piece. For me, it was just a little bit too long to actually assemble this piece and then attach it already assembled to the rest of the head. It was too big. I couldn't do it. There he is, half formed. And all you have to do to complete this piece is just apply glue to the remaining flaps and go ahead and work your way around, press them into place. And now moving on, this next piece is going to be the beginning of our leafy sea dragon's chest, and it'll fold around. Again, the word coming to mind is accordion style. That's not what an accordion looks like. I don't know what I'm thinking of. But you can see we're just going to apply glue to these flaps that attach onto the corresponding edges, also found on this very same piece, to just make a closed off loop out of this one piece. Gently pressing everything into place. And now all you're gonna have to do is apply glue to the 4 remaining flaps that you can see just fit right against the base of the neck of our leafy sea dragon. I find it best to start with the really long edges on pieces like this, and then gently get all the other pieces into place. And you can kind of see as I work my way around, everything is falling apart around me as I go. That's okay. For pieces like this, you really just have to get all the flaps inside and then just press them into place. And just like with the Weedy sea dragon, we're going to move on to, I think this is piece 6 now, and we'll attach it in the exact same way, starting with that little triangular flap on the very tip of the tail and closing the loop of the triangular tip of the tail, then attaching the rest of the flaps to the remaining segment of the tail's tip here. I'm having a lot of fun placing my ping tuber in places where it's like I'm attached to the wall by my nose. I think that's pretty innovative, pretty innovative for a shark. I've never seen that before. Okay, so we've completed this tail piece here, and now we can move on to this next last tail segment. This is going to be the piece that connects our tip of the tail to the actual body, and this is a really simple one. I recommend starting by closing the loop of this piece and then simply attaching it to piece 6, which is the tip of our tail. If I did another Thresher Shark Papercraft, the tail would be like 16 feet long, and it would take 100 hours to complete. And it would probably make my apartment explode because my apartment is so tiny. I thought y'all should know that. Okay, so this next piece is the last body segment for our Leafy Seadragon. It's going to fold around again in that same style as the other pieces. Here's that clip twice, I guess, for some reason. I can't edit it out now, but that's how it will attach to the tip of the tail there. Just like the previous pieces that fold up in this style in the middle of the body, you're going to first apply glue to these flaps that attach to corresponding edges also found on the same piece to close the loop, and then you'll attach this piece right to the rest of the tail. And again, be really careful when you do something like that to get where you have to press kind of an edge inward to attach everything. It can be really easy to accidentally completely bend a face of the pattern inward, and it's very hard to get a crease like that out once it happens. So to attach these two halves of the body, I recommend just applying glue to all 3 of these flaps, and then just start by attaching the longest edges, and then I used a toothpick here to secure the very topmost flap into place. Super easy. Here he is. Looks like a worm back there. Okay, so now we can start applying all of our leafy appendages. These 2 that go right on the very top of the head here, you can see there's a light colored spot on the bottom of each of these flaps on these appendage pieces. And make sure that really lines up with the white mark that goes around the eye of the Leafy Seadragon. That's just there to help you align these pieces in the correct spot. And now we have these teeny tiny little fin pieces, pieces 11 and 12. These ones don't have any particular markings or anything that you need to line up like the previous ones. They just go on both sides at the tip of the Seadragon's mouth. And then pieces 13 and 14, these little kind of 3-leaf clover shaped ones, they do have those lighter yellow markings on them that correspond with the light yellow marking found on the Seadragon's snout. There's not a specific place on the snout, I just kind of position them toward the center. This marking will really line up pretty much anywhere as long as the yellow edges are aligned. And look how cute he is! And now we have even more fin pieces. This is pieces 15 and 16. You can see there we're just going to apply glue onto the yellow flap at the very top of these pieces and then just press them into place toward the very beginning of the chest, right along that edge that you can see that goes at a diagonal toward the end of the neck, beginning of the chest. Pieces 17 and 18 here will also fit right on the sides of our Seadragon at the bottom. You can see the slanted edge on each of these yellow flaps corresponds with that edge right in the middle that goes down to the lowest point of the belly. Pieces 19 and 20 will also attach in a very similar way. You'll be able to see more clearly in this next clip that the slanted edge of the yellow flap will align with the 3rd edge from the tip of the tail, as you can see here. And you can also see I'm attaching pieces 21 and 22. These just fit right onto the sides of the Seadragon, as you can see, corresponding along the 2nd to last edge on the tail here. This is piece 23. It's slightly different from the other fins. You can see the yellow flaps at the bottom there. I've created valley folds that I will use as flaps because this piece is not going to attach to the side of the Seadragon's body. It's going to attach in the middle of the back of the neck, as you can see right there. If you're doing the double-sided version of this pattern like I am here, you'll see that pieces 24 and 25 are a little bit different from the other fin pieces in that they have to be folded in half so that there is color on both sides of this piece. And this is just to give it a little bit more structure. These pieces, since they are so large and they stick upward, they are really fighting gravity and they just need some additional support. But attaching them is very simple. You'll just attach them right to the sides of the body like the other fins before. And this is our dorsal fin piece. Here you can see I'm just creating a valley fold along that dotted line, applying glue to the bottom and attaching it in the center of the base of the tail. And the last two pieces are more little fins with a little valley fold for each of the dark yellow flaps. Apply glue to the underside of the flap and then just press it into place behind the eye, right on the cheek of your sea dragon. And here are the finished sea dragons, hanging so peacefully from their lamp. To hang the Weedy sea dragon, it's just like before. You want to find the center of gravity, so making sure that when you hold him, he's not tipping forward or backwards. And then when you find that balance point, I just used a sewing needle to poke a little hole right through there, pass a line of fishing line through with a double knot tied to hold it in place. And I also made sticker designs of the Weedy Sea Dragon, Ruby Sea Dragon, and our beloved Leafy Sea Dragon for this month's Sticker Club rewards. And whoa, what a transition to thanking all of the members of Sneepsnorp Club. I just want to say thank you for your monthly support. It really means the most to me that the things that I create brighten y'all's day too. I don't know, that gives purpose to my life, I think, and I cannot thank you enough for it. And next month, I'm going to be working on, well, not next month, what am I even talking about? This week, I'm going to be working on a new VTuber. Sharky VTuber is not being replaced, don't freak out, but I am starting a Mothy VTuber project that I'm very excited about later this week, so that will probably be the next video. So, yeah.